Have you ever wondered who held the purse strings of America? Before the Federal Reserve was created in 1913, we often hear about the Fed's immense power today. But what came before it? The story is a dramatic tug-of-war for control of the nation's money, filled with powerful dynasties, secret meetings, and financial panics that shaped the country. Before the Fed, America's financial system was a Wild West. Imagine a landscape dominated by a handful of ultra-wealthy individuals and their private banking empires. These weren't just banks. They were the nerve centers of American industry and politics. At the heart of this world was one name that towered above all others: J.P. Morgan. John Pierpont Morgan wasn't just a banker. He was the lender of last resort for the entire United States. His firm, the House of Morgan, was so powerful that it bailed out the U.S. government not once, but twice. In 1895, when the nation's gold reserves were dangerously low, Morgan organized a syndicate of bankers to supply the U.S. Treasury with millions in gold, effectively saving the country from default. Think about that for a second. A private citizen and his partners bailed out the entire federal government, but Morgan wasn't alone. He was the kingpin of a group of financiers often called the money trust. This included powerful families like the Rockefellers, who controlled Standard Oil and the influential National City Bank, which would later become Citibank. Then there were the Kuhn, Loeb & Co., partners like Jacob Schiff, who financed massive projects like the Pennsylvania Railroad and were major rivals to Morgan. These men sat on the boards of hundreds of major corporations, from railroads and steel mills to insurance companies. Their decisions could make or break entire industries. They essentially controlled the flow of capital in America, deciding who got loans and who didn't, which businesses thrived and which failed. This immense concentration of power in the hands of a few unelected bankers made many Americans nervous. It felt undemocratic, and the system was incredibly unstable. Without a central bank to manage the money supply or regulate banks, the economy was prone to brutal boom and bust cycles. The Panic of 1907 was the final straw. The stock market crashed, banks failed, and the country spiraled into a severe recession. Who stepped in to stop the bleeding? Once again, J.P. Morgan. He famously locked the nation's top financiers in his library and refused to let them leave until they pledged their own money to stabilize the system. He single-handedly organized the rescue. But it was a terrifying demonstration of how the nation's fate rested on the whims of one man. The Panic of 1907 scared everyone, including the powerful bankers themselves. It became clear that this ad hoc system was unsustainable. This crisis directly led to a secret meeting on Jekyll Island, Georgia, in 1910. There, a group of top financiers and politicians, led by Senator Nelson Aldrich, whose daughter was married to John D. Rockefeller, Jr., drafted the blueprint for a new central banking system. They worked in complete secrecy to avoid public suspicion, knowing that any plan associated with Wall Street would be dead on arrival. This secret plan evolved into the Federal Reserve Act of 1913. It was sold to the public as a way to wrestle control away from the Wall Street Money Trust and create a more stable, government-run system. But ironically, the very bankers who had held the power before were instrumental in designing their replacement. While the Fed was a major change, it continued a long tradition of a centralized entity, whether private or quasi-public, having immense influence over the American economy. So the next time you hear about the Federal Reserve, remember the powerful titans like J.P. Morgan, who were the original masters of the financial universe, the unofficial central bankers who ruled America's economy long before the Fed ever existed. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this dive into financial history interesting, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories you weren't taught in school. See you next time.